Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. My guest today is a returning guest to the show. Her name is Borne. She is here for the Tick-Borne Disease Alliance. We're going to talk about that and also the big run-walk event that is coming up. First of all, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you back. It is getting to that time of year where this is a necessary show to talk about, first of all, what the Tick-Borne Disease Alliance is actually.
So the Tick-Borne Disease Alliance is a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising awareness, promoting advocacy, and supporting initiatives for a cure for Lyme disease and other tick-borne diseases, including finding better diagnostics for tick-borne diseases.
Yeah, because that's one of the big problems when it comes to this disease is, in a lot of cases, not realizing that you actually have contracted something, right?
Yes, so about the research varies, but about 36 to 50% of the people will not have a rash when they get bitten by a tick. About 60% people don't even recall having a tick bite.
Wow.
So that makes it a little hard for reporting, and that's why sometimes the numbers are down when we say, well, how many cases have been reported? And that is the problem because a lot of people don't report or don't recall having a tick bite.
I would imagine there's a lot of people that aren't even aware of the biggest symptom, which is that sort of a bullseye rash, which is certainly a noticeable skin irritation. And some people who do some research would discover that might have something to do with Lyme disease, but that's only one of the many symptoms that you can have.
That's correct. So Lyme disease is also called the great imitator because its symptoms can mimic many other diseases like multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, chronic fatigue syndrome, and a number of other diseases. And most of the symptoms will vary from person to person, but it can go from having joint pain, having Bell's palsy, which is drooping of one side of your face, having numbness, and it could be numbness in both extremities, it can be numbness in one extremity, it can be numbness on one side of the body. Other symptoms are word retrieval problems, memory loss.
Wow. That's a lot different than having a rash somewhere on your
That's
body.
right. Flu-like symptoms, headaches, joint pain, jaw pain,
Wow.
blurred vision. I mean, it's a gamut of neurological symptoms.
I would imagine a while back, and maybe even up to more recently, has there been a lot of misdiagnosis of this?
Yes, there have been. And like I said, people have been misdiagnosed for Lyme having lupus, MS, Parkinson's.
When you start experiencing some of these symptoms, depending on how severe they are, that's not the point of no return. That's not being too late, but sometimes it takes a while for you, if you, like you said, to even notice that something's going on with your body. How far into it are you at that point?
Well, it varies from person to person. You can have the symptoms up to 7 to 9 days after the initial bite, or up to 4 weeks.
Wow, wow.
And the reason for that is everybody's immune system is different. So your body produces antibodies. When you get bitten by a tick, the body produces antibodies, and can take 2 weeks, it can take 4 weeks, it can take up to 6 weeks for the body to produce those antibodies. And that's why the tests that are currently out there, like the ELISA and the Western blot, are not so accurate because some people will go and get the test a week after they're bitten. And it's too soon because the antibodies aren't produced yet.
So
you will get a false reading.
Wow, so you literally, if you suspect that you have been bitten by a tick without knowing for sure, you should wait a certain amount of time?
The first thing you should do is call your doctor,
Okay.
go over the symptoms, and then together decide what the course of action would be.
This past winter that we just had was a pretty brutal winter. Cold-wise, snow-wise, for sure. That's actually a good thing, isn't it, for controlling tick population, or is it? Or is that a misnomer?
There's a lot of misconceptions about that because the tick has a cycle, and the highest risk time for ticks is in the late spring, early summer.
A time when people are so getting used to it.
So from May to August is the highest season, and the tick at that point is called a nymph, and a nymph is the size of a poppy seed.
Wow.
So just imagine.
Yeah.
And then in the fall, the size of the tick is a sesame seed, and that's the adult tick. So they have a cycle, and so during the springtime, people start going out, and they don't realize that they have a tick because it's so small, and that is a great risk for people.
Where we are in Rhode Island and Connecticut and this part of the country, what specifically are we looking for? I mean, there's a lot of wooded areas, a lot of, I mean, is it more advantageous to happen if you have pets? Talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Well, the person who is going to be exposed to possibly getting a tick bite is someone who gardens, someone who goes hiking. If you don't stay on the path, you will more likely have a chance of getting a tick bite. Being in wooded areas, kids who play in the playground on the grass, again, mostly in shaded areas, because ticks don't really like the areas that are exposed to sun. Also, areas around the pool that have stone walls. The ticks like to bury themselves in between the cracks, and then if you sit on the wall,
they're right there.
They're right there. They're right there. Another misconception is that you can't find ticks during the winter. You can find ticks during the winter. They do not hibernate. They're all year long. The only time you won't find them is like this past winter when the ground was frozen. So when the ground's frozen,
do they die?
More likely they're not there.
Right. Okay. So then there's one good thing about this brutal winter that we had. There's less of them. Not to say that, like you said, the spring and summer.
Right.
They certainly won't be back.
When a tick lays eggs, they lay larvae, 2,000 eggs per tick, approximately.
Yeah.
So just imagine. And not every tick is infected.
Right.
A tick will be infected if the host is infected. So where do we find ticks? Well, we find ticks on deer. Then they drop off, and the tick will find a host. It will find a rodent. It can find a bird, a mouse, a cat, a dog.
I was going to say, sometimes your pets, right?
So your pets. So when your pet goes outside, and possibly the tick will climb on the pet, and then the pet goes onto your bed, and then the tick falls off because it's not yet embedded on the pet, it's likely that it will go and seek a nice warm body.
How at risk are your pets when they have the ticks on them? Does it have the same effect on them as it would have on a human being? Because you always spot every once in a while you'll spot a tick on your dog, and people are very they get to it right away, want to get it out, and that's a concern to them. But what exactly is the? It's never a good thing to have a tick on you, whether you're a dog or a cat or a human being. But I wouldn't imagine it has the same effect on the animal that it does a human, or maybe it does.
I'm not really sure how it affects them. I think that because of the gravity of it for humans,
Right.
I know more how it affects the humans. I don't know how it affects the animals, but there are other measures for the animals, like spraying, and frontline, all those things, and
preventative stuff.
Preventative measures for the dogs that would help.
Well, then let's segue into preventative stuff for human beings. We talked about what to look for and what to avoid, but how about when you're going to go into the woods or you're going to take a hike? What can you do preventatively to maybe avoid contact?
So we recommend wearing light-colored clothing, pants tucked into your socks, really geeky looking.
Hey, you'll be thankful that you did that, right?
Shirts tucked into your pants. a hat if you're going into the woods,
I would wear one anyway. So.
And repellent.
Just the kind of stuff that you would buy in a store?
So there are many different products now out on the market. There are products that are EPA approved to put on your skin. There are products now that are EPA approved that you put on your clothing. One of the products that I'm familiar with is permethrin, and that is a spray that you can spray on your clothes. You can also find permethrin treated clothing, and those clothings are good for about 6 to 7 washes.
Wow. I would imagine the sporting goods stores probably sell those because it's conducive to people who do a lot of hiking and stuff like that, so that kind of clothing would be there.
So you can find them at sporting goods. You can find it also on our website, tbdalliance.org, and Walmart carries it, Amazon.com carries the permethrin spray, and insectshield.com.
As it gets warmer, especially from this type of winter that we had, people have cabin fever and they're going to want to get out and they're going to be outside. And so now's the time to start thinking about maybe avoiding a big hassle and think about these things. I know you think about it a lot because you're involved with the organization, but preventative is so important, isn't it?
Well, I'm not only involved in the organization because they're a great organization, but I'm involved because I was bitten by a tick.
Personal experience.
Personal experience in 2002. And the tick was on me for 3 days before I noticed that it was a tick. And I noticed it started changing shape. I never had the rash.
Wow, see, that's a good example of so many different symptoms, right?
Yeah, I never had the rash. But a week after I was bitten, I started feeling very sick. And I actually did have memory loss and word retrieval. I had numbness in my arm. What I would recommend for people now that the weather is starting to get really nice, everybody wants to go out, is again preparing yourself. Wear light colored clothing when you go outside. If you're going to go on for a hike, don't walk off the paths, walk on the paths. When you get back in from outside, whether you're gardening, whether you're walking your dog in the park, or whether you're hiking in the woods, the first thing to do within an hour from coming outside is taking a shower or taking a bath, taking your clothes, and if you don't want to put it in the wash, put it in the dryer. Research has shown that putting your clothes in the dryer for 30 minutes will kill the tick.
No kidding. Wow. That's very fascinating.
Yeah, so we have a saying with from the Richfield Task Force. They use the BLAST design, which stands for B, bathe as soon as you get in, within an hour. L, look for ticks. And if you find a tick, remove it immediately. And how should we remove it? We remove it with fine tip tweezers. You pull it out, you put it in a Ziploc bag or a container, you label it with your name, the date, and the time that you thought you might have gotten bit by the tick, how many hours the tick was on you, and what do you do with it? Well, you could either call your local health district. I know that the Westport Weston Health District can identify the ticks, or if you go on again on our website, there are certain other labs that if you send the tick, they can identify it. And there's a lab at the University of Connecticut that also will test your tick.
All right, so instead of just pulling it out and throwing it away or flushing it, you want to have as much information on this as it can. So pull it out, put it in a plastic baggie, and mail it to an appropriate place, or bring it to
even if it's not engorged.
Right. Which means it's fed.
It's fed, and it's full, and it's full of blood. It's full of your blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So even if it's not, go ahead and do it if you have any hesitations.
All right.
So that was the L.
Right.
And the A is apply. So we talked about applying repellents. Now remember, repellents means it repels the ticks, doesn't necessarily kill them.
Right.
Okay. So again, we talked about the EPA approved, and you can again find different kinds of repellents on our website, TBDA Alliance, tbdalliance.org.
We got a graphic up on the screen
Okay.
too. So
And the S is for spray, spraying the perimeter of your
property.
property.
Okay.
Yes.
That's smart. That makes sense. Yeah.
Right. And T is for treat your pets.
There you go.
And we talked about that as well, that they're an integral part of getting Lyme. Going outside, going for a walk, going to the parks. Most of the parks aren't sprayed. Coming home, bringing you gifts.
And there's other dogs that are wandering around too, so someone
Right.
can jump off. Let's take a break and come back. We'll put the website up on the screen again for people to go and check out. It's a fascinating topic, especially, and it's an important time to be talking about it. Orna Grand with the Tick Defense Alliance, or Tick-Borne Disease Alliance. That's the acronym, and we've got a lot more to get to, so we will when we come back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest is Orna Grand. She is part of the Tick-Borne Disease Alliance, and that's easier just to say the acronym than it is the organization. We talked a lot about prevention. We talked about ways, symptoms that you'd see with the Lyme disease, but it's not just about Lyme disease, is it? There are different types of things that you can contract. Talk about that a little bit.
So we call them co-infections. And co-infections are other bacteria that you will find in a tick, and they can range from Babesia, Bartonella, Anaplasmosis, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some other ones. Again, you can find that on the website. And typically, when you go to the doctor, he will just test you for Lyme, and so you need to request to be tested for co-infections. Why? If you're treated for just Lyme disease and you're not getting better, then that's an indication that you have something else. There is a co-infection.
And you only have to go back to the doctor eventually anyway when they realize that this isn't working, right? So get it all tested at the same time.
Exactly.
It makes total sense.
Exactly.
Now, you're not a doctor, right?
No.
But you know an awful lot about this stuff, and that's the case when a person has a personal vested interest in it, when it becomes a part of their life personally. It's one thing to have someone come on the show and be a representative, of an organization, but it's affected your life personally. So, that makes you that much more keep up on the new information that's coming in, the research and development that's going on, right?
And there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it.
Is there do you see advancement being made in the field as far as detection and also treatment and maybe a cure?
I see a lot of advancement in the part that I'm involved with, which is educating and raising awareness.
That's important.
I, together with Monica Wheeler from the Western Health District, have created a shower tick check card, which is very similar to what they use for breast cancer. It's a card that you put in the shower, and it shows you where to check your body, where the ticks are predominantly like to hide. And the places that the ticks like to hide is in the hairline, behind the ears, the axilla, the underarms, maybe in between your fingers, in between your toes, behind your knees.
So it's any place has a crevice, right?
Nice, warm.
Yeah. And could be moist too, yeah.
Nice, warm, moist places. So we created a card for raising awareness, and hopefully we will be getting this around to all the doctors and in the schools, and this is a part of our raising awareness program.
Before we run out of time, I want to make sure I touch on a few things. As far as raising awareness, also raising funds, money,
Right.
fundraisers. You got a big run walk coming up. Talk about that.
Okay, so our 6th annual TBDA walk is going to be on April 6th, 2014 at Sherwood Island State Park, and it is a 3 and 6 mile run and a 1 mile walk loop within Sherwood Island State Park. And again, this is to raise awareness and raise funds for research.
And you probably want to check yourself when you're done with that walk, just to make sure, right?
Well, it's all on the path.
Yeah, you're staying on the path. And that's not the only fundraiser. You have like a masquerade ball too.
Yes, well, the month of May is Lyme Awareness Month, and TBDA is hosting a gala, and it's called the Great Masquerade Ball, because Lyme, again, as we spoke about before, is a great imitator.
Yeah, that's very true. Now, for the masquerade ball and the run walk events, I would imagine going to the website is the best way to go to learn more about the events, but also to sign up in some way.
Yes, so if you go to the website, you will see my flyer, the flyer for the walk. You will also see an area to register for that, and also for the gala.
Okay, that's for, getting people involved in the event and trying to raise funds. How about things like volunteers for the organization? Are you looking for that too?
We have enough volunteers.
Wow, it's
right
so rare
now.
that somebody would say that.
Yes, we have enough volunteers for now. We try to get our community involved, and so we have groups from Staples High School and the other independent. I recruit all my friends.
Yeah,
to
of
help.
course, and they're not going to. How can they say no to you, right?
Yes.
And then they get other people, and it's like a big domino effect,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And fingers crossed that it's going to be nice weather, especially the run
so
walk.
So far,
Knock
the
on
past
wood.
6 years, knock on wood, we've had wonderful weather. A little bit on the cold side, but it's been really very, very nice.
Before we run out of time here, there are some other things on the table here. If you just want to individually talk about like a couple of them and what you have here, some pamphlets and things like that.
Okay.
What do we have here? Some things like.
So here we have the blast card, which we spoke about, BLAST and what that stands for, and on the other side it has early signs and symptoms.
Okay. And that's available. We'll put up some shots on the screen for that too.
And here is a brochure from Tick-Borne Disease Alliance. Again, when you go onto the website, there are many links. It's a great resource. And you can find information on prevention, how to find a doctor, what repellents to use. So this brochure has also an illustration of the different ticks that you can find, because not only regular ticks, but there's Lone Star ticks in different geographical areas. So there's information about that. And then again, tick removal and prevention.
We talk a lot of this stuff. We steer people to the website for the events and other things to learn. What else is on the website for people? Because it's a very informative website. What else is on there?
So the events are on there. Information about how to find a doctor, information about prevention.
Are the other labs on there for people to send
yes,
stuff to?
Yes, there are labs.
Okay.
There are labs on there.
Good.
Yes.
And one more time on the website.
tbdalliance.org.
By the way, there's also links on the website for social media, because if you really want to get the word out, you have to be a part of social media, Facebook and all that stuff.
So there's Facebook and Twitter.
Yep, so there are links on there for that too. We could have talked a lot more. This is a fascinating topic, and again, this is an important time to have this show airing, considering people are beginning to mosey out of the house after a rough winter. Orna Grand, she is part of the Tick-Borne Disease Alliance. TBDA is the acronym. It's a pleasure to once again have you on the show today. Very informative.
Thank you. It was nice to be here.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of For the Record. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube site. In the meantime, we'll see you next time. Take care.